Guys who don't know us, Lane Houk is the founder of Signal Genesis and Quantum Agency. I'm Frankie Fihn. I wrote this whole agency book, and a lot of people know me as the guy who closes agency stuff over video. Anyway, today we're talking about SEO, and more specifically about you guys being able to sell SEO. And Lane has a bitchin' little slide deck that we want to walk you guys through that you guys can use. And he's going to give you the unbranded version so that you can present SEO in an intelligent, kind of like well-researched, hey, these guys know what they're talking about kind of expertise way. And as you guys will see, it's like, it's super easy, right? It's like, it's very formulaic. And as a result, like, you guys will be able to sell SEO packages. So anyways, firstly, Lane, welcome back.
Yeah, man.
Good to
be with me, buddy.
Should we just start by just firing up the pitch deck and like kind of walk folks through it?
Yeah, I'm just going to fire it up right here, right now. All right. So you're seeing my screen, I believe.
Yeah, we got the inception. I see it. Like, there we go.
You see it?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So I'll share this slide deck in both in SEO Success Academy, if you're a member there and watching. And then I'll also drop it as a free resource in the live Facebook stream. And then Frankie, you'll share that, I know, in your group. So that way, anyone who's watching this or watches the replay will be able to access this slide deck. This is, I've been using this for many, many years. It's probably been, revised, updated, I think 2 or 3 times over the last 5 or 6 years. And so obviously you can just delete this first slide if you want. And then, I hate selling SEO. So we're talking about selling SEO, right? And so the first thing I stopped doing back as early as 2015 or so was I stopped selling SEO because there's so many people selling SEO. I mean, how do you differentiate yourself if you start off a client discovery meeting or a presentation like this with, talking about SEO, right? And so you immediately just throw yourself into this, this big lump of people, agencies, freelancers, people offshore, people onshore, everyone's selling SEO. So as you can see here, I'm not talking about selling SEO. And the second thing, if you see in this title here is, what people, when you're talking to a business owner, what they really care about is growing their business and growing their profits, right? Yeah. And so let's speak their language right from the get-go. And so instead of selling, hey, we're going to talk about SEO and digital marketing,
this is huge.
Marketing, they want to scale their business and grow their profits this year. Right. So, that's just, there's some subliminal messaging here. I'm making you as agency owners aware of this because these things matter. I started off this presentation with going through these 6 points because I believe that if you get, number one in sales, if you get the prospect nodding their head, agreeing with you, right? That's just kind of sales 101. You get them agreeing with you, verbally saying yes. You just get them, their mind starts to agree with you, right? Yeah. So,
and also those statements are true, right? Like it does require an investment in marketing. It does require top of prospect funnels. They do need visibility. So like but you're fundamentally stating truths, reminding them why they're even there. So I think like there's a lot of,
I'm already pre-framing their mind to understand that if we're going to engage, it's going to require an investment in marketing, right? And this is a really important point. This first point it sets the whole stage, right? So I never wanted to work with businesses that weren't into like really growing. Like I only wanted to work with businesses that really wanted to grow. Like they wanted to compete, they wanted to grow, they wanted to, get to the next level. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty hard to close a business if they're coming into your meeting with you kind of like, nah, I don't really want to grow. We're pretty happy where we're at. We got enough leads. Everything's good. You're like, okay, well, let's not waste time. Let's move on. Right.
So I would argue our stuff doesn't even work for those kind of people because as soon as it either doesn't work or when it does work, they just want to turn it off. It's the second it's like, hey, okay, we got enough leads, turn off those ads, kind of thing.
So before we give them, the solution to their problem, I want them to understand that, look, if you want to go from whatever you're at today, if you're a $3 million a year company today and you want to go to 5, if you're 2 and you want to go to 3, If you're 4 and you want to go to 8, I don't care. Whatever that is, right? It's going to require an investment in more money. Like you're not gonna get to 5 million spending the same amount of marketing money budget that you did get to 2 million. I mean, it makes logical sense. But this is important because this gets their brain going. Okay, yeah, if I want to grow, I'm going to have to invest, right? And so it's just, and then the rest of these points are just kind of, they just lead right into each other. But we have to get you more visible in more places, in more channels, in front of the right people, in order to get more leads, and then therefore grow from 3 to 5. We're not going to go from 3 to 5, spending the same amount of money, doing the same exact things that we did to get to 3, and focusing on the same exact geographic area potentially, or whatever. But things are going to have to change if we want to go from 3 to 5, right? And so it's all about visibility. And if we're going to get you visibility, we're going to get you visibility in the search engine result pages. And that's going to result in either advertising, search engine optimization, or both. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, why Google? And I have I think 1, 2, 3, 4 slides just to make the point. Why are we going to optimize for Google?
Yeah.
Well,
can I just slow down on that for a second, Lane? Because I think you're doing something really advanced here. Jason Canigan and I, we've been doing on our sales talk. We've been talking about the 2 sales that you have to make. One of those is, this is a good idea in general. And one of those is, you should do this with me specifically. And most people think that the bulk of the sale is the second one, why I should be your provider. But it's actually the bulk of the sale is the first one, is why is this a good idea in general? So in other words, like, why should they do SEO at all? Not why I should be your provider of it. And so you're doing it, in my mind, an excellent job, like addressing that first sale, because we're addressing the elephant in the room. Like, why should you invest in SEO at all in this moment? Exactly. And now you're making an argument. Well, you're gonna get the best leads. It's the highest quality traffic. It's where the greatest number of people come. The search gets 65% of the clicks or whatever it is. So, anyways,
exactly.
I just wanted to make that point.
Yeah, and the second point is why you should work with me. We're going to demonstrate that by going through this slide deck quickly, and we don't want to take a long time, but we want to move through this very quickly. But by going through the rest of the slide deck, that's going to answer the second question, why you should work with me. Because by going through the slide deck in kind of the way that I do it, you're going to immediately establish yourself as the expert, right? And so if you set up, to Frankie's point, addressing the first sale, which is why you should even be doing this, the second point is, I'm going to demonstrate why you should be doing it with me over these next 10 to 15 slides, because I am the expert. I am the doctor that has the solution to your problem, right? And so boom, 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 we just make the point. Why are we going to optimize for Google first? Because they're the elephant in the room. And if we don't optimize and we don't really dominate in Google first, then why would we want to spend money going after 4% of the market, right? So this is why we optimize for Google first. And then once we do such a great job getting your business everywhere in Google that, we're like, okay, we've tapped Google. Then we can go on to Bing and Yandex and Yahoo and all these other, Facebook, wherever. But so these 4 slides just simply make that point, right? And then we go here.
Can I just add a funny anecdote on that? There was a bank robber back in the day, and they, I don't know which one, but it was one of the more famous ones. And they asked him why he robbed banks. And he said, because that's where the money is. And, why Google? You're answering this, but because that's where the people are, right? Like you're just demonstrating that this is already true. People are already at Google. If you want to go get them, go where they are.
Exactly. And then if we just dive into a Google search engine result page, which is what this looks like, and I don't care if you're on desktop or mobile, they all certainly look a little bit different. But at the end of the day, you get 3 zones in a search engine result page or a SERP, right? When you do a search, you get 3 major zones. You get the paid search results, you get the local results, you get the organic results. And data-wise, this pretty much spells out why we should focus on SEO and not just PPC. Yes, we know PPC will get us the quicker leads because we can just have you showing up on page 1 once we get the campaign set up and launched. But why SEO? It's really simple, because 60 to 70% of the traffic, the clicks for any given keyword search or phrase search, is going to go to that one or all of those 3 map results that show up on page 1. And then, there's another 20 to 30% that show up in organic. And so between, maps, the local and the organic, we're talking 80 to 100% potentially of all of the traffic is going to the spots that are only occupied by building authority, which is really what SEO is. And so this is where I kind of go, well, we don't really do SEO the way, everyone else does SEO, because that changed many, many years ago. But I'm going to refer to it as SEO because I know you've probably heard about SEO, and that's probably what it triggers some of the thoughts about what we're going to have to do to get you showing up in these zones here. And when you show up in these zones here on page 1, you're going to get a very quantifiable, a very noticeable bump in your call volume, your lead volume, your website traffic. If you're a retail business, your foot traffic, because this is the reality. Yes, we want to do PPC or do paid ads with Google if you have the budget. But if we're constrained by budget, then we want to focus on these 2 zones here, which is all about building authority and generating ranking signals in a holistic or comprehensive strategy or approach. It used to be about having some content on a website and building some links. That dramatically changed between 2012 and 2018. Those 5 to 6 years, the whole landscape changed, and Google changes now kind of on a monthly basis. But by and large, this is what is going to drive the bulk of leads into any type of local business. And so this is why SEO, or building authority, is important. And so how we approach SEO, like I said, is very, very different than probably anybody else who's approached you about, SEO, so to speak, in the past. We approach it from a green hat. You've probably heard of white hat, black hat. If you haven't, those are kind of industry terms. White hat meaning anything that Google would actually approve. It's within their terms of service or guidelines. Black hat meaning it's a completely against Google's terms of service. We take a green hat approach, meaning it's evergreen. It never really gets old, right? This approach here has worked for the last 10 years. Yeah. Mind you, yes, there's some
20 years, I would say.
What's that?
20 years at least.
20 years, sure, yeah. Yeah. And there's obviously some minor tactics and strategies that we implement along the way that as Google changes things. But by and large, this process right here is completely evergreen. Okay. Yeah. And so we got to start with the end in mind. If we don't want to drive traffic to keyword searches that we know aren't going to benefit your business. And so,
can I just say, by the way, when you you're actually following my Loom process here, just so you know. I know you probably didn't plan it that way, but for you, it's the same as me. You just had enough of these sales conversations. You intuitively know what they're going to ask next and what they're going to wonder next. But the basic Loom process is what you start with showing them something they want. As in your case, we talked about the bottom line of actually growing their business, not leads, not #1 rankings, not some intermediary, but the direct thing they want to do, and establishing some truths. And what happened is, I always say, if you show somebody something they want, and in your case, you made the first sale and showed them, obviously you want to be top in Google, their mind will immediately wonder to how it works. And what you have to demonstrate in that step is that you actually have a plan, a process, a methodology that there's going to be certain things that are executed. And typically, for most people, that's going to be in 3 to 5 steps. And so to me, you just laid this out really, really nicely, because if I'm a prospect, I'm wondering, okay, that all sounds good, but what are you going to actually do? #1, I need to see something tangible now that's going to show me a plan that I could see that working.
Yep. And again, going back to that second point of the sale is we are now starting to demonstrate our expertise, teaching this prospect how it's going to work, our methodology, and how we're going to actually get them into the #1 spot, or the top 3 spots in these search engine result pages. I called it managed web presence. I've been calling it managed web presence since 2015, before we even had our white label agency. It's a holistic approach, a comprehensive approach. And so businesses are very familiar with managed services. Okay. And you're setting up them to go, all right, we're going to be managing your web presence online. Those managed services are going to be recurring, right? And we're going to be managing that for you. Managing your web presence also implies that we're going to be doing more than just like, it's more than just results oriented. There is activity. There are things that we must do that are evergreen that we know work. And you're paying us to do that work for you, irrespective of the results per se. Now we know that we got to get you on page one. We know that you're not going to pay for this long term if it's not getting results. But understand that, as a business, you're paying us to manage your web presence and to do the work that it takes to apply this holistic approach to building your authority online. This is important, okay? Because if all you do is sell results, you're going to be held to that standard. If what you sell is activity and best practices and content and syndication and distribution and signal generation, that's activity. Yes, we know it produces results, and yes, we expect it and need it to produce results, but it will give your client or your prospect, the to be client, a little bit more patience in their mindset as you approach this. If you teach them, what we're doing is we're providing managed services for you. We're going to manage your web presence and take this holistic approach to generating signals in multiple categories around your web presence, your brand. Okay.
Yeah. And can I just add that, like using an analogy as somebody who's worked with attorneys, when you hire an attorney, there's no guarantee that they're going to actually
exactly.
And yet at the end of the day, the attorney is guaranteeing, I'm going to fight this. I'm going to go to court. I'm going to do all the paperwork. I'm going to do all the steps necessary. And I'm going to do all the things that typically lead to money. And I'm going to try and take this as far as possible.
Perfect.
But at the end of the day, it's in a jury's hands. I'm not a jury, so I can't make that decision for you. And this is kind of like a good analogy for what you're saying.
It really is a great analogy. Really good analogy.
Yeah.
Moving through this quickly, I know we don't have a lot of time here, but, we want to talk a little bit about how their website is the hub of everything about their brand online. And so the website's important. It's more important today than it ever was. And so we definitely need to put a focus on your website. We need to address deficiencies, the gaps. We need to capitalize on opportunities that you haven't capitalized on yet. And that's all going to be part of this evergreen green hat methodology that we just talked about. We definitely have to understand that Google is looking at your website pages, literally one by one by one. They're looking at the content on those pages. They're looking at who's the author of that content. If they can't decide or can't figure out who actually is the author, then there's a gap there even. And so there's all sorts of little kind of what we would call breadcrumbs or dots that we need to connect even on your website to make sure that Google is really understanding who you are as a company or as a brand, the products or services you provide, and then that we're really building authority around those specific products and services, and that Google is very much clear on all of these things. And usually we find that companies that aren't ranking well, in these different zones have deficiencies and gaps, especially on their website, and then also related around their Google listing. And so if we talked about visibility, if we're going to grow your company from 3 to 5 million, we got to grow the visibility to a certain audience, and visibility in Google search is determined by signals. And so there's multiple types of categories of signals. And like we said before, as we take a holistic approach, we're going to be producing signals in multiple categories on a kind of a monthly, regular basis. And that's how we actually build your authority. It's a process, not an event. All right. We don't build authority overnight. Your competitors didn't get to page one with their authority overnight. So this is going to be a process. And month over month over month, we're going to be generating ranking signals in multiple categories to ensure that we are moving the needle in your GBP listing and in your website and moving them up in rankings for the target keywords and the target themes or topics that we're building authority around. And that's a function of generating signals. We generate social signals, citation signals, video signals, all sorts of signals with your content, brand mentions. We We mentioned we do signals right around your GBP listing. And so we're using content and we're using strategies to generate these signals. And those signals are what actually move the needle as the search algorithm or the bot crawls the web. It finds these signals. And the more signals that we create over your competitors, the more we're going to begin to overtake them month over month over month. And that's the process, or that's that green hat methodology being implemented month over month. The content strategy is really, really critical here. And so it's not just about putting out a bunch of blog content, right? If nobody sees that blog content, it's worthless. If the blog content isn't strategically structured, it doesn't have these signals around eat in it, then we're just going to have very weak content that's not going to get us very far. I call content like the fuel that we put in the engine of the car or the vehicle. And you
can I just say, Lane, the function of a lot of the slides you've just shown as a whole is they can see like a path to victory. Like they can see how, like, okay, I see what he's doing. He's going to be posting content. He's going to be sending ranking signals. He's going to be distributing press releases. He's going to be posting stuff on my GBP. This is what Google wants. Okay. Like, and they can begin to see how, like, over time, if I keep doing this better than, ABC plumbing, then I'll eventually be ahead of them. And it's really, really important because they have to have a process that they can see, like, in order to stay with you long term. Because, like, a lot of times people sell it like, we will get you top Google #1 tomorrow. And then the problem with that is, as soon as they hire you, they're quick to pull the plug when they're not #1, because you haven't sold them on the idea of, like, a clear process. And therefore, like, like you said, they don't see instant results. Like, everybody's had that phone call of, like, hey, it's been 5 minutes. I just Googled myself. We're not #1 yet. Like, when am I going to be #1? And a lot of it is the function of the way it's sold. And what you're accomplishing here is showing them there's a process. It's going to take time. It's not happens overnight. Like, it's a clear, systematic approach. You're going to see signals being generated right from the start. And as a result of that, like, so much of the sale, by the way, so much of the objections of the sale, I should say, happen in this part because people don't give enough detail on, this is what I'm actually going to do for you.
Yeah. But notice, are we giving away, like, exactly how we're going to do this? Like, if you were
30,000 foot view
going, oh, I got the recipe now. No.
Yeah.
Right.
It's 30,000 foot view, right? Like, they wouldn't be able to do it without you.
Exactly. You got these colors and the pie charts, and you got some stats, and you got some, so I assure you, if you just go through this, and you don't need to spend an hour on this, you should spend that 30 minutes, And so I spend the first 15, 20 minutes in a discovery mode with that prospect, asking questions before I even get to this slide. I want to ask questions. Do you want to grow? What are you doing gross revenue right now? What's your goal to get to in the next 1 to 3 years? What are your biggest pain points? What are your biggest strengths right now in your marketing? What do you just really feel like is not working? What are you looking for? What kind of outcome can we, if we were to sit together a year from now and go, all right, looking back, what has to have happened for that to be like a big success a year from now?
Yeah.
If you get that type of those answers to those types of questions in the first 15, 20 minutes, you're going to be armed with all the little nuggets and intel that you need as you then go through these slides and just go, remember when you said you wanted to grow to 5 million? Well, all right, to that point, do you understand you're going to have to invest some more money, right? Like,
hey, Lane, just because we're coming up on time here and I got about 3 minutes, do you think we could go towards the end and just look a little bit at the quote unquote close? Because I love how your kind of style of doing it. It's like mine. It's not like hard pitch. It's just like usually it's more like what I would call like an invitation. But I wonder if you could just share folks with that, because I think a lot of people are scared of that part. They think they got to hard sell somebody and therefore, like, kind of tense up and stuff like that. But I think this presentation makes it super easy.
Yeah. So you wind down the rest of the presentation, which is kind of establishing what's the other parts of the strategy, helping them understand, like, this is really confusing. And if you try to just navigate this on your own, it's going to be really, really hard. Let us help. Here's some of the things that we do and how we help companies grow. And so then I just kind of end it right there and go. So let me stop there. And first of all, let me see if you have any questions. And, I kind of like to end it by asking, kind of a foundational question is, if we were to engage together and we were to come on board and start helping you, solve some of these problems, if we go out a year from now, what has to have happened in the next 12 months? If we were to look back in these next 12 months, what has to have happened in these 12 months for you to say, man, I'm really, really glad I engaged with Lane and Quantum Agency. And then be quiet and then let them ask their questions and answer that question, right? Because that will tell you right there if they're really interested or not. And usually if you phrase it like that, that's the Dan Sullivan question, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Good old Dan.
Yeah. What has to have happened in the last 12 months for us to consider this a really big victory? They'll tell you. And then usually the next question is, well, how much will this cost?
Yeah.
I'm glad you asked. You can go right into your close, or if you do a two-step close, say, let me get an estimate and proposal together. Are you able to meet next Monday at 3 p.m. where we can then go through the proposal and the cost, and then see if it's a good fit for us to engage? Or you go right into it and close them right there. With the one call close, one meeting close, or the two meeting closes, whatever your methodology is there. And be willing to hit curveballs. Like if you sense that they're ready to go, well then do a one meeting close. Forget your two-step close, just close them, right?
Yeah.
Be willing to hit curveballs and fastballs as they come at you. And if you sense that they're a little bit, more like, hey, let me think about it, or maybe more the accountant type, they want to analyze things, then give them that time and say, how about we meet next week? And it gives you some time to think about this. I'll come back with a proposal and estimate, and let's just see if it's a good fit for us, right? Yeah. That's it. You'll close. If you do this presentation around how I did it, and give them the space and don't do a hard close, your conversion rates will be 50% plus.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would also add that the people who don't buy usually give you hey, it's not the right timing for reasons ABC, and a lot of those people you don't close now will come back in 6 to 12 months if you don't do a hard sell where you kind of close the door forever, like a lot of people do.
So before we close out here, I know we get a minute or two early. For those of you who are watching, I have opened up SEO Success Academy. Would love to have you on the inside. We've got about 67 members here, I guess, this morning. It's $17 a month. And all of our replays of Frankie and I's weekly SEO jams will be in here under a course that's coming soon. And I'm giving away my very, very best information, strategies, tips, all of that. I'm giving that away now inside the community. If you want to learn SEO, if you have team members that need to learn SEO, if you have questions, this is a fantastic community for $17 a month. You really can't go wrong. I'm also curating all the latest news. So you don't have to be, trying to scanning search engine land and search engine journal and SEO roundtable and Neil Patel and trying to figure out what's happening. I'm doing all that for our members and then giving you the news that you really need to pay attention to, and kind of curating all that for our members as well. So anyway, super excited to have a bunch of people on the inside. Feel free to join in. Just go to SEOsuccessacademy.com.
And I'm there. I just had. So if you guys want just one more place to listen to me, hang out there.
Exactly. My camera went off there, but yeah, good being with everyone today. Frankie, you have a good day, buddy.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for all you guys who tuned into these. We love you guys.
Yeah. Tune in next week. Same time, same place. Have a good day, buddy.